Coffee spills out of an overturned mug, and I think of the early blooms that froze in the last cold week before dewy spring. And yet there is nothing I could say for the emptiness of a mother's hands when her child stands for the first time on her own. One doesn't have a title because I'm often very bad at finding titles for my poems. Basically, it's about loss and a kind of inevitability and a natural cycle of loss. So it starts out with coffee spills out of an overturned mug. So this idea of losing something before you're ready, like a full cup of coffee or like a half drink cup of coffee spilling, and you're like, oh, I was gonna drink that, but you lose it before you can. And then I think of the early blooms that froze in the last cold week before dewy spring. So I think this happens sometimes, at least in North Carolina where I live, and with the climate change going on. Like, it starts getting warm a little early, late February, early March, and then the trees will start blooming early because it's getting warm and it's staying warm for a while, and so the trees think, oh, it's time to bloom. But then it starts getting cold again. Maybe it might snow or it might get below freezing, and so those beautiful blooms freeze and die because it wasn't supposed to get cold, and they're not meant to survive in that kind of weather. Again, it's this idea of losing something like before you're ready, because like they just got there but now they're gone. Losing something right after you get it. And then I compare it to the idea of a mother watching her child grow up, which I definitely think is a kind of loss. I mean, I'm not a mother, but I can imagine the feeling of, especially now that I'm getting older and I'm thinking about having kids myself, the idea of carrying someone inside you, and then like bringing them into the world and then raising them and having such a strong connection and such a, like, there's no other love like that. And then watching your child grow up and not needing you as much as they did before. And of course a child will always need their mother in some way, but not like there's something about losing that connection where they need you to walk and they need you to eat and they need you to do basic things. And I can imagine like the fulfillment in providing that, and then all of a sudden losing the chance to provide that. Parents always talk about how like their children are growing up so fast and they always feel like they don't get enough time and it always comes too quickly. And so again, it's that idea of, and obviously that loss is something that's inevitable, something that's always gonna come along no matter what, because a child is always gonna grow up. So yeah, so just thinking about loss in general, but then sort of like with specific instances and images and metaphors.